Welcome back to week 5. Well, this is a bit different. So I'm literally driving into work and I've just pulled up in the car park and realised, oh my goodness, I haven't done an intro part for week 5 video. So this is it. I'm in the car, I'm at work. So today, it's been one of those weeks. I'm kind of trying to set expectations as to what to expect for the video. We've had poorly people or sick people, if poorly doesn't translate, which I learned apparently it doesn't, so that's new to me. And I've been taking care of those, and I'm trying to be doing all of the things, so I don't have as much footage as I wanted, and I feel like I've said that for a few weeks now, but hey ho, bear with me. I know you guys do, and I know that you understand completely, so I do appreciate that. At the end of the day, I wanted to capture how much we're spending on groceries and how we're managing through these 35 weeks of this series. There's going to be ups and downs, there's going to be more footage and then less. All of that's absolutely fine, and I'm still getting what I wanted from it, so I hope you still find it enjoyable. This week we are talking about preparing our winter medical cabinet using home remedies and things. There's going to be a theme, there's going to be more of these, so it's not just for this week, and there's also a few other things thrown in. So I hope you enjoy. We're going to start off with the Aldi haul, and I haven't done a menu plan for this week's video, but next week we're going to be getting back into looking in the fridge, the menu plan, things like that, because I do want to change it up a little bit each week. I don't just want the same thing every week, because that'll get monotonous for me and no doubt for you guys as well. So anyway, let's get into the Aldi haul for this week. This is the haul from Aldi this week, and I tell you, shopping tonight, it was so much darker. Well, it was dark, full stop. So let's start off. We've got the 6 pints of milk was £2.19. I got semi-skimmed this week. We normally have whole milk, but they didn't have any except this filtered whole milk, which I've never tried before, but I use that for Kefir for the whole milks. That's why I wanted to get that. The whole milk was £1.59. The garden peas, which we've been really enjoying in lots of different meals, 65p, cheap as chips and really nice. Stephen's taken some hummus and crackers to work as sort of a healthy snack. The hummus was 79 and the crackers were 79 actually. And we've got the kale here, which was 75p, because I'm going to be doing some kefir smoothies. So if you've never heard of those, stay tuned for that. And I'll talk you through that a little bit. We've got the gravy granules at the back, which were 85p. And then the mushrooms were £1.30. And we've got these tiny little tortilla wraps, which came in at 55p. Because if we buy a bigger pack, I'll have to freeze them and they probably won't get used. They might go off, etc, etc. Whereas these ones, Grace can just take sort of 2 lots of 4, maybe 2 days worth out of this. She really fancied wraps. So they were fine for 55p. Oh, we've got mushy peas at the back there, which is for the pork chops and mushy peas, which came in at 30p. I think that's what that meal was for. But anyway, it's on the menu plan for this week. And then I got some leeks for £1.39 because I'm going to be doing a Scotch broth. The cheddar came in at £3.99. That was an expensive one. And then on the Super 6, carrots and celery, as you can probably tell. So a kilo of carrots was 29p. So I got 4 packs of them. And the celery was also 29p, so I got 3 of those. The Norpac lighter, which is at the back there, was £2.19. The mini bananas were 83p. They were better value per banana, so I got the slightly more expensive pack, but you got more for it. And then the broccoli's gone up from 57p to 62p each. This butter over here, I'm going to be doing some crumbles and things with. That was £1.99. And the onions were 49p each. I think that's everything. So it's looking quite a healthy haul this week. So stick around and you can see what we do with it all. Welcome to another busy day in the kitchen. Today I'm going to be making a lamb stew in the slow cooker. I was going to do a lamb hot pot, but that's going to need to go in the oven and it would need a little bit more babysitting and preparation than I'm prepared to give today. I've got lots of other things on. I'm going to show you a few things that I'm getting up to in the kitchen, and I would prefer to be able to come home after a few chores we've got to get done later on and just serve up whenever we're ready. So hopefully we'll all be ready to eat at the same time. We can sit down and enjoy a nice warm meal, but if not, the slow cooker is perfect for just keeping things warm until everybody's ready to eat. So first up, I'm going to get the bread on. Now I thought I'd show you the outcome of the courgette bread. Totally forgot about it last week when I said I would do that. So we're going to make another one together today. And secondly, I'll show you what I'm putting in the lamb slow cooker meal. Really, really simple, just a kind of a traditional stew ingredients. Use whatever you've got, bung it all in the slow cooker, and off it goes and does its thing. And the other thing that we're going to get to as well is the elderberry syrup. So if I could encourage you to do anything of what we've been trying over the last few weeks, it's the elderberry syrup. Elderberry syrup. This is basically nature's remedy, like a winter tonic that you can make yourself using ingredients that are just either freely available or some that you might have to purchase all around us, which is the elderberries. You might have to go and buy some honey, which is honey in this recipe as well. But the reason that I'm mentioning it is because we're coming into winter, coming into cold season, and it's something that I find it's so full of goodness and antioxidants, along with a few other recipes I'm doing over the next couple of weeks. It's one of the things that we take regularly every day from as soon as it's made. So it's October now. So every day from October until about the end of March, I like to try and have some of this on hand. So I'll show you what I'm doing with that too. Now for the bread recipe, this is just going to be done in the bread maker. So we've just got a Panasonic bread maker and we're going to do the basic white loaf. So this is the one of these variations that I make the most basically. And where we've got strong white bread flour, so if we make a 400 gram loaf, I'll probably replace about 50 grams with the courgette flour. Now that doesn't seem very much, but I know how many courgettes it took to make this tiny little jar. So it's going to be jam-packed full of nutrients, even with just 50 grams. And I always think it's better off just starting with a little bit and then increasing it so that you can figure out what's going to work best. And then what we can do is have this with our lamb stew later on today if anybody needs a little bit extra to go with it. So we're going to start off with a teaspoon of dry yeast, 400 grams of flour in total, 20 grams of butter, but I'll be using oil. Sugar is 1 tablespoon, so it's up to you if you add the sugar or not. It's not necessary, but I do. Salt 1.5 teaspoons and 280 ml of water. So I'm going to get all of that put into here and I'm just going to set the bread maker away, and that will take about 4 hours to 4 hours and 5 minutes. And again, the bread maker, I use this all the time. I love to make homemade bread. I just don't have time to do it all myself. And the bread maker really helps me out. And to be honest, it doesn't use hardly any electricity. So fair enough, it might end up costing a little bit more than you can buy the cheapest shop-bought bread for, but I'm quite happy doing this because I know everything that's going in it. And although we do buy shop-bought bread for the kids' packed lunches and things, just to help me out, because I do find I struggle with homemade bread to slice it nice and thinly for the sandwiches and things like that. But that's another topic for another day. So we'll give this a try and hopefully you guys will enjoy it as much as I do. So I'm going to put all this in the slow cooker. I'm going to put it in the bread maker now. For these scales, all I do is take the bread maker pan and put it on the top and reset it to 0 so that I can just weigh the ingredients straight into the pan. I did have some electric scales, but the batteries ran out, so went to Wilko and it was really expensive for a new battery. So I'm just going to use these ones, which I absolutely love them. But when you've got things like the sourdough starter and it's a very small number of grams that you need, they're not completely accurate, or I'm not completely accurate, whichever way around. Right, that's all our ingredients. We're going to go and put this in the bread maker and come back and get on with the lamb in the slow cooker. So for the lamb in the slow cooker, I've got some of the carrots that we got last week left over. I've got some onions left over and I've actually got a couple of leeks. So I'm just going to bung all of those in. I'm not going to brown anything off beforehand or anything like that. And I'm just going to put a stock cube in some gravy along with the lamb. And I think, oh no, potatoes, I'm going to add some potatoes in, so it's all just basically a one pot. So we're heading to the pantry to get those items now. Don't do what I do. I've got the lamb on the bottom, which is fine, but I really should have put the potatoes underneath that, which I did mention before and I always forget. But anyway, the things that take the longest to cook should go at the bottom of the slow cooker, and the things that take the least time to cook you should put on the top. Then just don't open your slow cooker while it's cooking, leave everything in there. And if you really need to, you can have a look and have a stir. If in my case, when you forget to put the potatoes in the right place, I need to go and get them out of the store cupboard now. But ideally, longest at the bottom, longest cooking at the bottom, shortest cooking at the top. I'll show you what it looks like once I've got the spuds in. And what else did I say I was going to put? Oh, an onion. I don't think I'm going to bother with an onion because I've got the leeks in. So I do have one left from last week's shop. But I think that's enough. And I'm going to add in a couple of other special ingredients, which I'll show you just now. Now for this recipe, I've got some of the less glamorous potatoes. Actually, that one's pretty glamorous, but one's more like this. That's been washed as well. So these are the slightly smaller ones from the garden that don't, when I'm doing things like mash and roasties, I try and go for the bigger ones just because it's easier for myself when I'm preparing them. But these are going to be perfect. I mean, there's a couple of quite small ones here like that. So I'm just going to check them over. If they need peeling, I'll give them a peel. If they don't, I'll just chop them up and put them in the slow cooker and try and get them to the bottom. If not, it'll be totally fine still because they're going to be on for quite a while. Really, when you're thinking about layering your slow cooker, it's probably if it's going to be on for quite a short time, but mine is always on pretty much all day, to be honest. So from breakfast time when I prepare things all the way through until about 6:30 when we try and eat. It doesn't always work out at that time, but you know. So I'm going to get, this one is definitely getting peeled because it's got scab. Scab is just visual. It's nothing that's going to affect the potato underneath and might not be perfect on the outside, but it's beautiful inside. There we go then, those are the beautiful red potatoes you saw me peeling, which are Heidi red. The others are just a mix of different King Edwards, Mary Piper and everything else that we had growing. So that, I also put in the celery. I just don't love celery raw at all. I wish I did because I love the sound of it, the crunch. Anyway, like it cooked. So that is the main ingredients. I just need to add in a couple of stock cubes and some hot water. I'm going to put hot in just to give this a bit of a fighting chance, because if I put cold in, it's going to take even longer to warm up. And then I'm going to pop it on high for a couple of hours and drop it down to low for as long as we need, basically. Or you could leave it on low for 8 to 10 hours. The lamb that's in the bottom of here is actually quite tender, so normally lamb I would put in for at least 8 hours on low. This is really tender lamb, so it's not going to need that long, but it will sit there quite happily until we are ready to eat later. I've got to tell you the other ingredients. So just now I'm going to add in a big blob of the red onion chutney. So I think that'll go quite nicely. And I need some rosemary because, you know, rosemary and lamb is just a match made in heaven. And I don't have any in the house now. I'm going to go and get a load this weekend from the garden to do for drying for winter. But right now I've got mixed herbs. I'm just looking at my herb shelf around here. Let's have a look together. So we've got parsley. There's oregano, we've got mixed herbs. What are you again? Lemon verbena. No, we won't be putting you in. Absolutely all sorts going on here. So I think I'm just going to get a selection of herbs in and maybe a few peppercorns, some salt and pepper. We'll see. We'll get... this is out of place because that's where you've been sitting. So anyway, let's get this finished and we'll get busy with the elderberry syrup, which is next. So the washing machine is, as always, on form when I am recording. You'd think that's all I did, I really don't. Now, I'm going to get my frozen elderberries. So last week you saw me out foraging and I got a whole bunch of elderberries. And the best thing to do with them is freeze them because they come in kind of clusters that hang on the branch. And when they're frozen, it's easier just to use a fork to pull them off because then they don't get all squishy and they end up looking a little bit like this. These have been out a little while, so they're starting to defrost ever so slightly, but they're going to be perfect for our elderberry winter syrup. So these I've already scraped off. You can see some of them are starting to mush. There's a bit of ice on. That's absolutely fine. Don't worry about any of the extra bits of leaves or anything like that that you might have in. Now, the other key ingredient for this recipe is going to be raw honey. Now, all I've got is this 1 jar of raw honey. So I'm going to make however much I can using this amount of honey. So I've got more elderberries than I do honey. So these will go back in the freezer if we don't use them all. And the ratio for the recipe is really simple. We're going to use 1 cup of water to 1 cup of elderberries and half a cup of honey to that. So essentially I'll be able to use 2 large cups of elderberries. I'll make sure that they're jam-packed, and a full jar of this honey and 2 cups of water. And I'm also going to add in, I haven't got them with me now, I'll go and get them. Oh, there might be some in here. Yeah, there's some rose hips that we got when which look just like this. Now these are also jam-packed with vitamin C, so I'm just going to use what I've got left because there isn't that many. I've made rosehip syrup as well, and I'm just going to get whatever's left of these and add them in to the mixture when I'm boiling them up. So I'm going to get all of this in a jar, so probably use 2 cups of elderberries, 2 cups of water in a pan, not a jar, sorry, and don't add the honey until the end. So put that to one side. I'm going to throw in a few rose hips and we'll be back in just a second. Oh, the light's shining above, but this is 2 large cups of elderberry, so a heaped cup, and 3 of water, because what I'm going to do is I've added the extra one in for the rose hips that I'm going to add in just a sec. Maybe I should have used a bigger pan. This is just my smallest one. I tend to just make this as we need it rather than you can water bath it to keep it for longer at the end, but because of the properties in this, I don't really want to give it any extra heat treatment so that we kill anything off. The other ingredients I'm going to be adding in today are some ground cloves and, or actually not ground, whole cloves, a cinnamon stick and some grated ginger, because I've got it in. You don't need all of that, but it's just really extra goodness if you fancy making it and you've got it to hand. So I'm going to bring this to the boil and then just leave it to simmer. As soon as it comes to a boil, I'll just leave it to simmer for about 40-45 minutes, something like that. If you had dried elderberries, which I recommend you do if you manage to get enough, you use 1 cup of water to 2 cups, no, the other way around, 2 cups of water to 1 cup of dried elderberries, and you would simmer it for a little bit longer. This will probably be okay after about half an hour, but I'll just leave it for 45 minutes because it's got the rose hips in there, which you can see are chunkier and take a little bit more getting to. And then once that comes to the boil, as I say, knock it down to a simmer and we'll come back and show you the next steps. And while that is cooking down or simmering, by the way, we don't add the garlic, not the garlic. I'd never make what they called a chef that's on TV. I'd have everyone putting the wrong stuff in the wrong time. We don't add the ginger and the other ingredients until we've strained it. So once we've strained the rose hips and the elderberries, then I'll add in the other ingredients. I don't like to strain it to add it beforehand because I feel as though you're going to lose some of those medicinal properties when you strain it. So add them in after, but not yet because we're not ready. The other thing that I wanted to show you is recently we've had a few people that have been feeling a little bit under the weather, and at this time of the year especially, I like to make a chicken bone broth. So I use my Instant Pot just because it expedites the process. You can use your slow cooker and leave it on for sort of 24 hours, something like that. But I generally put it in my Instant Pot for 60 to 90 minutes. Just 1 chicken carcass with about 2 litres of water. And what I'm going to show you now is what it looks like afterwards. And we're going to taste test this one together. Excuse me. That's the timer to say the elderberries are ready. So I'm just going to leave them cool off for a little bit and we'll get back to them. So what I was saying, about 1 chicken carcass to about 2 litres of water. There's no right or wrong methods for this. And I've added in some extra ingredients this time to try. We're going to have it as a drink. So instead of adding it to soups and stews and things like that, which we still will, and cook your rice in, cook your pasta and all that good stuff. Well, cooking pasta I think can be a little bit of a waste, whereas the rice soaks it up. I digress. As always, I'm going to show you what I've got left. So bear in mind, this is after it's been pressure cooked, so it doesn't look the nicest of things to be looking at from a cooking point of view. But I'm going to taste test it with you and I'll let you know if this recipe works. We'll add it in to next week's video as something else that you can add to your winter medicinal cabinet, because bone broth is full of so many nutrients and goodness, and it'll just make it heals you from the inside. It's just like chicken soup. It's the basis of chicken soup. So anyway, that was a very long-winded way of saying we're going to taste test this together and I'll show you what it looks like after it's been pressure cooked now. So this was done, excuse the dish rag, in the Instant Pot, and I've just tipped the contents. This is completely cold now. Tip the contents of the Instant Pot into this sieve, and this is the ingredients that have been cooked. So we've had garlic, carrot, chilli, onions, there was ginger, lemon, apple cider vinegar. This is the chicken carcass. You can see peppercorns, we had some rosemary, absolutely all sorts of goodness going on here. I will put, as I say, I will put a recipe on next week if this tastes nice now. If not, we'll just consider it a warning to everybody not to do it. So I'm just literally straining this out, and that's the stock in the pot there. Makes a bit of a mess, as you can see. And I'm just going to take a little bit and heat it up in a separate pan have a taste test and see if it's something that we could actually have as a drink, which is how a lot of people take it, but I'm not sure myself. So let's wait and see. We'll do it together just now. There we go. You can see it's steaming. I've heated it up, so it's a hot drink. I've only put a little bit in, just in case I don't like it. It'll be lovely for all of the usual uses, but I really do want to start having it as a drink before bed. So let's see. Bottoms up. I'm laughing because this is a genuine, I haven't tried it. It doesn't really smell. I was going to say, if anything, there is a smell there, but I'm not sure what it is. Anyway, I'm the queen of procrastinating. Okay. It's not nice. It's not nice. You can add things to it. I think I can't get over the thought that it's bone broth, and that's making me feel a bit strange. That's what's getting to me. How ridiculous is that? It's not, put it this way, I could drink it. I could drink it if I had to, because I'm feeling as though it's going to help me health-wise. So Stephen will be able to drink it because he can stomach anything. It's nicer the more I'm having. Yeah, okay, I could do that. I was a bit hit and miss for a second there. So this is supposed to be so good for you, exactly as I was saying, and that's why I wanted to do it. To be honest, Stephen is going to be having this first, not because I'm mean, just because he needs it. He's been a little bit under the weather and things as well. So I'll continue having it in the soup. I'm thinking if maybe if I made it a bit sweeter, but that just doesn't feel right. Bone broth that's sweet. But you can put honey in for the, anyway, point being. So it's a yes, okay? It's not delicious, but it's a yes. So that will be added to the equipment that we've got, the medicine cabinet, along with the elderberry syrup, which I can get finished now because I needed to, I've had to strain them because I wanted to use the pan that they were in just to heat up this little bit of bone broth. So these have just been sat happily waiting for me, still probably quite warm. So we're going to add the other ingredients now, and we're going to just leave them simmer for 15 minutes on the stove top. And then once that's done, take it off the heat and we'll add the honey in just before it gets too cold. You don't want to cook the honey at all because we want to keep all of those good properties in the honey. So that is next on the list. Now the elderberries haven't squashed down. They've definitely secreted goodness and liquid and all of that good stuff, and they have cooked. But they haven't completely dissolved. So what I'll do on the next batch when I do this again, because I said elderberries, meant rose hips, what a day. I will blitz these in the food processor beforehand, which is what I did to make the syrup. They are absolutely jam-packed with seeds, the rose hips. So you really want to make sure that you strain anything well if you're using those. But this has been dripping just into this big bowl here, so I can discard this now. This can go into the, it'll go in with here. And into the compost. I'll just take the big chunks of bone out because I don't want those in the compost in case we get any more foxes. And all of that will make a fantastic compost material. We will now add the rest of this syrup that's left into the pan. I'm just going to give this a rinse out because I was using this for the bone broth, and we'll get the other ingredients in. So we're going to put in some cinnamon, one cinnamon stick. And I've chopped up a little bit of garlic as well. You could grate it, but I've just chopped it, and I'm literally just going to pop that in again. Whoops, no measurements are right or wrong. And I'm just going to pop a cinnamon stick in. Leave that to simmer with some cloves as well. Just putting that back. Let me grab the cloves. So there's the cloves in, and just remember, some people can't have all of these ingredients. If you're pregnant, breastfeeding, all of that good stuff, make sure you check out what you can and can't have first of all. I'm going to turn this down because I can see it's starting to steam, and I'm just going to set the timer for 15 minutes. Oh, I got it the first time, and just leave that go. I'm not going to put the lid on. 15 minutes later, we'll come back and that'll be ready for the honey, and that will be job done. It's the end of the day, and I've just added in some of these meat gravy granules from Aldi and some frozen peas into the slow cooker. Give it a stir. I'm going to leave it for a minute or two just for the peas to, it's switched off now, just for the peas to take on some of the heat. They take no cooking at all, and you don't want to overcook them, so I only ever put them in just before I serve. This is what it looks like. I don't know about you, but I think it looks delicious. It's not everyone's cup of tea, so I hear. slow cooker kind of one pots, but it really is ours. Absolutely delicious, looks just full of vitamins and health to me, so I'm going to enjoy this. We're going to try the bread, which is also looking really nice, and I'll show you what it looks like when we serve it up. Well, it's late evening now and both my battery and myself are running out of charge. So the elderberries have cooked down, they're simmered with the cinnamon stick and the ginger, and it is time to add the honey. So it's gone cold by now because it's actually been a long time. The 3 afternoons passed and it's late evening. So all I'm going to do is just very, very slightly bring it back up to warm just to help the honey mix the honey in. I'm probably, looking at how much I've got, I'm probably only going to use about half a jar of honey, although the whole point of this is to have the honey because of its good properties. Use raw honey if you can. And I'm just going to mix it in, taste it, and if it needs it I'll put the full amount in, otherwise we'll just use half and make some again in a couple of weeks. When it's mixed in, just pop it in a bottle, keep it in the fridge and take a teaspoon, at least a teaspoon once a day is what we take. If we're feeling ill, then I'll take it 2, 3, 4, 5 times a day just as a kind of a little tonic. You can dilute it with some warm water, or, you know, pour it over your pancakes, anything like that. Use it as you would a syrup, but it is very, very good for you, and that's the whole point of doing it. So I'm going to finish by showing you what this looks like and say thank you very much for sticking with me for another week, end of week 5, where we've been building up our winter pantry, all around medicinal stuff that is not stuff that you buy from the shop, basically, not paracetamol or ibuprofen or Lemsip, things like that, just stuff that we can do at home. More to come next week, but thank you for now. Take care. See you later.